It was still dark when we left the village, the truck's headlights slicing through the morning fog that clung to the trees like a ghostly veil. The narrow trail wound deeper into the hills, a place where phone signals faded and wild boars roamed unchecked. For weeks, farmers had been calling with desperate complaints, fields torn up overnight, water tanks toppled, chicken coops raided. These weren't stray pigs. They were massive, organized packs, wreaking havoc with terrifying precision. We weren't out here for sport. This was about protecting land, livestock, and families who depended on their harvests. Our group consisted of 4 seasoned hunters, 2 relentless tracking dogs, and eyes sharpened by years of experience. Before entering the forest, we climbed a small ridge and scanned the valley below with thermal binoculars. Faint heat signatures flickered in the distance, large bodies, tightly grouped, moving through the underbrush. It was our first sign of the herd. With a silent nod, we knew the chase had begun. We moved into position with practiced stealth, the dogs leashed but trembling with excitement, their noses twitching as they caught the scent. At the base of the ridge, we took cover behind dense scrub and waited, the jungle's hum filling the silence. Minutes dragged on until a sudden rustle, sharp and quick, broke the stillness. One of the boars must have sensed us. The dogs erupted into barks and lunged forward, unleashing chaos in the clearing ahead. A massive boar, easily over 150 kilograms, burst from behind a cluster of pine trees, its hooves churning the soil as it charged downhill. I raised my rifle, took a steadying breath, and fired. The first shot missed, kicking up dirt. The second grazed its shoulder, but the beast kept running, undeterred. A third shot finally brought it crashing down with a heavy thud that echoed through the trees. Silence returned, charged with adrenaline. We gathered around the down boar, hearts pounding, sweat beading on our foreheads. It was the first of the day, but many more waited out there, and we had no intention of turning back. Pushing deeper into the forest, the terrain grew treacherous steep slopes, tangled roots, and thick underbrush that seemed to claw at our boots. The dogs, Rusty and Blaze, led the way, their tails high and barks sharp with energy. This was the perfect hideout for a cunning boar pack, and we moved carefully, communicating through hand signals and hushed whispers. Suddenly, one of the dogs froze, then bolted toward a fallen tree. A smaller boar darted out, trying to escape, but Marcus, our lead tracker, was ready on the right flank. His shot was clean, and the boar dropped instantly. The noise, however, stirred the brush. 3 more boars broke from cover, splitting in different directions. Instinct took over. I fired twice, missing the first, clipping the second, while the third vanished into the shadows. We followed the blood trail for nearly 20 minutes, weaving through dense foliage, but the wounded boar eluded us. It was a bitter loss, but we couldn't linger. These animals were fast, smart, and watching us as closely as we watched them dot by noon. We had taken down 4 boars, a decent haul, but we knew a larger group was still nearby. Using a drone, we spotted a narrow valley, likely a passage the herd used to move between water sources. We devised an ambush, splitting into 3 groups to cover both ridges overlooking the valley, with the dogs sweeping through the bottom. An hour passed in tense silence, the jungle's heat pressing down on us. Then, chaos erupted. 10, maybe 12 boars appeared, trotting along the lower path, unaware of our presence. We held our positions, waiting for the perfect moment. A twig snapped under someone's boot, and the herd exploded into motion, charging in every direction. I counted at least 3 boars running uphill toward us. We opened fire. 2 fell immediately, their bodies tumbling into the dirt. A third kept coming, its tusks gleaming. I steadied my breath, aimed, and fired. It dropped just meters from my feet, the impact shaking the ground. When the dust settled, 5 boars lay dead. The rest had melted back into the trees, but the hunt was far from overdone as the afternoon wore on. We were caked in dirt, sweat, and the faint smell of gunpowder. The dogs, though tired, remained eager, their noses still sniffing for fresh scents. We pressed forward through a shallow riverbed, the water cold and slick underfoot. In the distance, we spotted the herd again, 5 or 6 boars drinking at the far edge, their bristly hides catching the fading sunlight. We fanned out, taking cover behind rocks and twisted roots. With a sharp whistle, we fired in unison. The crack of rifles split the air, and 2 boars collapsed into the mud. The rest scattered, fleeing toward a rocky slope. Marcus gave chase, his boots splashing through the water.
If you'll enjoy this video, please like and subscribe my channel for more information.